All right, today we are gonna do a little clover maintenance. This is just a rough and cut way to do it. We're gonna use a rough and cut mower.
I was built to last when the waves are weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them
We
fester.
have a ton of clover in here, but what we also have is a lot of thistle, other grasses, and some other broadleafs. I'm not super worried about some of the other broadleafs because it seems like deer eat a fair bit of them that have been in here before. So again, we're doing kind of a test on this, and we're going to try to do minimal herbicide use on this plot. So the herbicide's really expensive for clethodim and stuff that you use to like spray clover plots. So let's just test out. It's hard to get back here, but we have this pull behind ATV mower. That's what we're going to use today. And I haven't raised it all the way up, but we're going to raise this deck as high as we can so we don't cut a bunch of the clover. What the goal is right now, a lot of the weeds and stuff in here are already getting over that clover height. So we're going to try to raise it up as high as we can go and see what we can do there. All right, you can see dandelions, kind of a bummer. I wish I would have gotten in here earlier to cut some of those, but what can you do? It's what we got. So you can see here's an example area. You can see a bunch of clover in here. You can see this grass. There we go. So the clover is about 3/4 of the height, half the height of a lot of other stuff in here. So we're gonna try to cut as high as we can, trim off that stuff. A lot of the grasses are gonna still overtake, but we're gonna do another cut come, I would say, late July, maybe mid-August, somewhere in there, and we'll cut it a little bit lower, and then that grass will just die off because it's the end of its maturity cycle, and that'll allow the clover to overtake that. But what I want to do is make sure I cut some of these thistles and stuff like that in here so they don't seed out. Same with the grass. If I can keep the grass low enough too and avoid it seeding and getting seed heads in all the weeds and grasses, that's the goal today, is so we're not creating more problems in the future. We're going to try to reduce the issues we have moving forward. All right, the thing to consider here as we're cutting this is it's not gonna be perfect. Like, we are not gonna have like this pristine only clover food plot in here. There's gonna be a mix of other weeds and grasses in here regardless here of what we're doing with the mowing. We're going to improve it a little bit, but I kind of like having some other stuff that eventually kind of overtakes and makes it harder for deer to pick out all of the clover. Yes, I would love to have perfect food plots and everything, but you know, we're trying to imitate a hard to get to food plot, and we're trying to use techniques that is minimal tools required or stuff that's a lot easier to access and eliminate as much of the herbicide use as we can. I mean, I use herbicides for a lot of food plot practices already. I'm not necessarily, you can't use herbicides or I'm against herbicides, but what I want to do is make sure that we can demonstrate other ways to maintain food plots and plant food plots and get to hard to reach areas. Because a lot of times that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with areas where, one, you might not even get a tractor to, and two, they're just tucked away from everything. So here we go. We have an ATV as our sidekick today. Let's go. We'll show as we do a couple passes here, but that we're We're a fair bit off the ground now with the blades. I could raise up the front end a little bit, but hey, we're not trying to do everything perfect, but we're 8, 10, 12 inches off the ground right now. All right, so we've cut half of it down or so. You can see it has cut some of these thistles down and the grass down drastically, because there's your comparison. Here's the cut, there's where it used to be. Now, are we just gonna see a huge massive growth in grasses and it's gonna choke out stuff further? I don't know, but it does cut off the thistle tops, and maybe that will prolong those from seeding out. We're gonna see. So I cut around the perimeter of the food plot, did a few passes. That'll be a nice test here to even just watch it here in the next couple weeks and see how it reacts. I'm not entirely worried if it didn't do what it's supposed to do, but I think there's a good chance that'll help at least maintain it as we go throughout the summer. We'll just observe how it does and kind of adjust as we go. So it's hot. That's why we didn't want to cut too low, is if you cut that clover too low, it's just going to get fried up by that sun. Clover needs a lot of moisture, and having some of that competition in there isn't always the worst to help kind of protect it a little bit and keep shade and keep that ground moist and cool. But all right, here we go. I will show you how it reacts here in a couple weeks.
I was built to last when the webs are weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain I ingest.